excited. All right. I just want to thank you all for being here. And if you have questions, the chat box is going to work great. And if you unmute and ask a question, actually, you'll come on my screen. So if you don't want to be on video, please stop the video. And I understand if you don't. It's 8 a.m. Eastern time. Might be earlier where you are. All right. So now that we are recording and getting started, I want to just briefly introduce myself. I'm Diana Murphy. I'm an executive coach that helps top performers lose weight for good. And I do have my own story. I was on I was a professional yo-yo dieter my entire life. And until I got to tuning in more to my own body's signals and learning some things that were kind of innate to me, I did not have success losing weight for good. And of course, as I learned that for myself, I had a huge mission of bringing that to other people, because I think this is a really huge distraction and something that really gets in our way in our lives. And I find it fascinating that as I healed the weight loss problem for me, and again, I had a lot of negative self-esteem wrapped in it and so many other things, that from that, once I solved that for me and really it just increased my confidence multifold. And isn't it fascinating? I started a business after doing that. It's like it really, this whole way that we talk about weight and we define ourselves in our culture really is kind of taking us out in terms of self-esteem. And so I want you to watch that as you're learning through the series, because it is so, like, when we tune in and when we really realize we've done nothing wrong, food is just food, and get to the bottom of just what can work for us, it's amazing some of the things that we can start taking action on in our lives. It's a huge distraction. All right, so I see there's quite a few of us here today, and I want to just thank you so much for everybody being here. And in the chat or by speaking up on an unmuted mic, you will not be interrupting me. This is your class. So this is a group format class. I know not everybody can be unmuted because you're at work or just listening in, but I want you to feel really comfortable just giving you the opportunity to get your questions answered today. As I talk about in coaching, it's like, get your transformation. If you signed up for this and you're coming at 8 a.m. on a Monday morning, you get your questions answered so that you can learn what you need. All right, enough intro. Let's dig in. During this series, I'm going to be teaching weight loss and stress loss, and really giving us an opportunity to deal with both our mind during this and kind of lay down my basic and very impactful intuitive eating tools. So the first class that we're doing today is portion control. And I called it that. I don't call it that in my life. Portion control is always making decisions up here. What's on my plate, so I finish it. How much do I put on my plate? How much should I eat? How many points is it? How, what, that's how most of us define how much we eat. What I want to do for you today is turn that into your portion control. And how I do that is teaching the hunger scale. If you guys are willing to participate, and I want you, if you're not able to, please just answer this question for yourself. What do you think of when you think about portion control? What do you think of when it comes to portion control? How does your brain, is it ounces of meat on the plate? Is it points? How do you think of portion control? In our culture, we think of portion control. Oh, great. Volume of food. Okay, I'm great. Chat box. I love that you're using the chat box. Thank you. Weight and volume of food and calories. Yeah, so a lot of diets teach us to weigh our food, weigh and measure. And these are not bad things. I don't want anybody to get that idea. And please continue to participate in the chat box if you're on a laptop. This is an opportunity for us to learn about how much food to eat and see how sated we are. But if we always rely on points, calories, and weighing our food, we are always making food decisions in our head. And this is why diets work while we're on them, because we're paying attention to that. But then we go back into normal life, and those tools kind of go by the wayside because we haven't integrated them really into our bodies, into our real learning and into a deeper learning. So the first way that you can start moving this into really learning physical hunger in more of an intuitive way are my favorite questions. Am I hungry? And am I full? Am I hungry? And making decisions only to eat, not by the clock, not because everybody else is eating, but to only eat when your body is physically hungry. And then the power tool I love, eating slow and very attentively. I should put that in the middle of this scale, is once we are eating when we're hungry, to slowly eat and register. And you may be surprised at how little or how much you're eating. There are days that our appetite wanes and waxes, where it can be have a voracious appetite because we've been more physically active in the past week. And then also how oh my gosh, I've eaten 3 bites and I'm full. But when we honor that, and that's sometimes bad news, we might have the most, the most delicious food right in front of us, right? And it's really bad news that we're already full. So keep posting questions here. How do you honor? What happens for you? Hi, Kathy. You're on camera. Good morning. Do you have any questions on that, Kathy? Good morning. I can't hear you. Unmute at the bottom of your screen. Bring your arrow down. I can't hear you. Oh. Okay, see if you can get it to work. If you're patient, we can figure out the tools, right? So unmute at the bottom of your screen and then check on up at the speaker and mic and make sure that it's picking up your audio. Yeah, you're muted. I'm seeing that you're muted. I will unmute you. Oh, Kathy, are you there? It's me. Of course, that's my problem. Okay, so what questions do you have so far?
Well, I have tried the sated scale, and to me, that works the best.
Okay, so tell me about sated. How do you define it? Because it's so important for us to keep using our own words.
Well, what I try to do is really be more aware when I'm eating.
So during the meal?
During the meal, yeah. So I'll eat maybe half of what I think maybe I want to eat.
Yeah.
And then I check in.
Yeah, so checking in as you go.
Yes.
It's so powerful. What have you learned by doing this?
Well, I learned that I really probably have been eating too much.
Mm-hmm. And how do you know that?
Because when I do check in with halfway point, I find that sometimes I really am full.
Yeah. And so and that's where portion control, right? The way we all look at this really does not honor one of the most beautiful feedback systems we own is our body. And we just have, we've just been taught so much outside, you should eat this and this is how much, and even eating half can be a disservice. But I love that you're checking in while you're eating, because that is when you honor hunger, you eat when you're hungry, but honor as you're eating, then you'll know. It's the only way to register whether you're full. Yeah.
I agree. Thank you.
Thanks for so much for sharing. I appreciate it. And we even have 7 people with us today. I want you all to just pop in like Kathy has. Don't be shy. And use the chat box if that's easier for you. So the whole idea is it's not noon, so we have lunch. It's I'm hungry. What can I eat for lunch? It's just shifting those questions. So it's really operating out of am I hungry and am I full as you're eating? And this can create some awkward circumstances, because if we're only honoring hunger, we may plan to go out to dinner with people and sit down to a meal and we realize we're not hungry. Bad news. And this is almost like where the rubber meets the road for us if we're really going to honor our body's hunger and get our body's trust and kind of that rhythm back for us. And I found that in those situations, even ordering just a crisp salad or just something really light, or just having an appetizer and having just a couple of bites, that I just feel so much better. It's one of the biggest ways that we can maintain really high energy almost all day, kind of no matter what's going on with us, is because it can make you really sleepy if you overeat, or if you eat when you're not hungry. And I found this out when I was on Weight Watchers. I had the whole mantra at that time was, and this is a while ago, I'm dating myself, but it was eat breakfast every morning, no matter what. And I did that. And I found some mornings I was really, really sleepy and I did not know what was going on. And I decided to, I think one of the meetings that week had been honoring your hunger. So I was practicing. And what happened for me is I realized that if I ate when I really had physical hunger signals, when I ate, I just felt amazing. But if I ate before that, just because I was supposed to eat, I got really, really drowsy. And it really is a powerful tool to wait. And I'll tell you why. When we wait, and this will be our next tool, but just to give you a little preview, when we wait till we're really hungry to eat, it's much easier to make what we call good decisions, but it's much easier to understand what our body needs in that meal. So there's some meals I need heavier foods, there's some I need lighter. And so this is the first tool to start with to really branch into eating more intuitively. So the power of slow is what Kathy was talking about. It is checking in while we eat our meal. When we tandem eating, and I'm gonna teach the scale today, because I want to go deep with these tools and then have you ask questions as we go along if there's anything you don't understand, even by email. And my email for anybody watching the video is Diana@DianaMurphyCoaching.com. And at any point during this training in the next 2 weeks, you can ask whatever questions are coming up for you. But it is the practice of honoring our physical hunger first gives us a lot of energy. It helps us to know really what is best for us to eat. I know there's times I'm really hungry for protein, and then there's other times I realize I could really do some lean protein, or even just a salad, just a vegetable-based meal. But again, it all comes in from checking in and starting to trust your body's signals. As an aside, one of the reasons that we have trouble trusting physical hunger is because most of us, many of us, and if you're on this call and we're drawn to the program or free training on weight loss, you may, like I did, have a history that you felt your body was kind of not honoring you. Like you did all this dieting, you did what the book said, you ate very little, you deprived yourself, you did the program, you worked out all the time. And it feels like our body fails us when we don't see the results, when we take a lot of action. And that is where we get kind of almost broken, is we're making our body do some things and applying a method to our body, and we've left the body's feedback out of the discussion. And when we bring it back in by learning a tool like the hunger scale, it's fascinating how much else we can learn with it. So just a really, I want to encourage you to start slow. If the question for you is just, and I want to put it up here, my poor husband, I think he's getting a cold. So like you can listen to him coughing in the background. It is, am I hungry? This might be the place to start for you, and not the hunger scale. I want to encourage you to start where you are and then eat slowly, like Kathy talked about, but just asking these questions to get started. And even if you did that for a few days, the hunger scale is going to start making sense to you as you go forward. Now, from here, I want to teach you the hunger scale. The hunger scale is kind of put in place. It was created by a coach to get more intuitive about emotions. And I'll explain more of that later. But fascinating that that's how this began. And my coach that trained me, Brooke Castillo, just started following it because she was Martha Beck actually started this work with her. Do you have any questions Somebody popped in. Maybe just the noise brought somebody. So somebody will come up on the screen if I hear noise, which is just fine. All right. So this was really put in place as a coaching tool to really increase awareness around how you're feeling, like to be in your body. And what's fascinating is Brooke took this on. And Brooke is someone that, like, if she learns something or believes in something, watch out. She's going to try it to all degrees and is one of those people that just loves learning. And as she did this, she realized she was carrying her natural weight about 60 to 70 pounds more than her natural weight, and was very frustrated. Smart, ambitious woman, owned and sold businesses. And she was like, what is going on that I cannot lose this weight? So she went all in with these tools and noticed that learned all these things around being, where her physical hunger was and what she was doing instead. And she was a heavy emotional eater. And we're going to get into this later, but today it's laying down this tool. Am I hungry? Am I full? And using the hunger scale is this. And I'm going to close my door because my husband is still coughing. Just a minute. All right. -10 on the hunger scale is not eating for 2 days. Very, very few of us, and some I know are doing intermittent fasting and stuff, and then your hunger signals go away. But what we're talking about here is not eating and being quite physically hungry. So -10 is very extreme. And then +10 would be, you've been invited to 2 Thanksgiving dinners and you had seconds at both. You are busting at the seams. This is get the sweatpants on, miserable, miserable. And sometimes we get dramatic when I'm working with clients on where I'll ask them where they are on the hunger scale. It's like, I was +10. And I'll be like, doubt it. Because we start judging ourselves that we ate too much. And so I want you to notice that as you work with this hunger scale, we can get quite harsh with ourselves that we overate. But by practicing understanding when we're lightly hungry, which I'm going to call -2, and lightly full at +2, this is what I call eating between the twos. So I like starting this example of really learning it this way. You have had a breakfast at 6 a.m., it sates you, you're satisfied all day, and you get to 10 or 11 in the late morning, and all of a sudden you are getting a whisper, a light hunger in your stomach, and it's getting your attention. So this is when the physical hunger is, when our body is hungry, our stomach is empty, we're getting low on energy, and our body kicks in to tell the brain that it is time to eat. And it's the opposite of emotional hunger, when the brain is frustrated, is anxious, and tells the body, like where the brain is telling, oh, you better eat to feel better. So this is the difference between emotional hunger and physical hunger. Physical hunger is when our sugar gets low, we have not eaten for quite a bit, and that physical response tells the brain, hey, you better get food. So during that morning, going back to how this is the easiest way to understand it, you're neutral all morning. You're fine. You're working through your day, and you get a little distracted. You're thinking, I wonder if everybody's going out to lunch today, or I wonder what I have in the refrigerator. That's -1. And that's the time to prepare and make a decision about eating. Then -2 is where we are truly hungry. And then as we eat, we want to check in. I love that Kathy shared that example. You want to be checking in as you're eating slowly enough. This is the power of slow. I'm going to interrupt my beautiful chart here. So it's being very aware of physically how we're feeling and eating slowly until we get sated. Neutral is that we could step away, like if you have a very, very busy day. 0 is probably people that eat on the fly. They eat just enough and then they get moving. I encourage you during your meals to eat to +2. And +1 is like, you're almost satisfied enough, but you haven't. Your body literally will do this when you're at +2. That was so good. I'm comfortable. And really listen for that letdown. Remember, it's the agitation of being hungry. Our body prompts us to eat. and then I'm feeling better because I ate. And eating to a +2 fullness. This +2 fullness is truly um, satiety. It's you are sated. And if you're eating the right foods, which is going to be our second module, if you're eating fuel, foods that last and sustain you, then you may not eat for another 2 or 3 hours. That's where the eating to the +2 really works. Now, I have clients that go, once they practice this tool for 2 or 3 weeks, find that like in their lives, -3 to +3 might work. If I have a time where I'm working out, I may enter a meal in the evening at -3 because I have such a sugar drop. And that's a time that I need to remember slow, because that's typically when we're extra hungry. When we wait till -4, then we get so agitated physically and actually start worrying. Sometimes our brain kind of gets in on the act here too, where we are having a really hard time slowly eating. So this is why the magic of eating between the twos, or what works best for you, might be 2.5. We can get very detailed with this after we practice. That really, really works. And again, this is honoring physical hunger. Okay, so in the chat, or if you know me well enough that you have my cell phone, I will see that the texts come up. Let me see if, there we go. Okay, I will keep my phone open. If, like, really what comes up for you, if you're eating between, oh, good question, Kathy. If you're eating between -2 and +2, what typically is the interval time? It is really between 2 and 3 hours. And so this is eating in a cadence and a rhythm of our appetite. Now, I am learning, and you asked about intermittent fasting, and I will share about that. I am learning that if I am really getting brilliant about, and almost habitual about my food, but I am finding there are some foods that are absolutely my fuel. Like, for an example, I am getting quite hungry right now, and if I were to have access to egg whites and avocado, and if I'm really hungry, and today it might be Canadian bacon instead of bacon, I know that that meal, I will probably not be hungry until 3 or 4 in this afternoon. Seriously. And this is Eastern time. So this is almost a 6 hour. Sometimes when I eat really clean, what I know for me is some good healthy fats and lean protein. I just don't need to eat much. Now, if I'm going to work, I don't ever eat because I'm going to work out, but in the afternoon I will get hungry and I will make sure I have a snack that is going to sustain me so I don't like feel a faint when I work out. But if you're trying to lose weight and you go into a workout hungry, guess what you're doing? You're eating it, you're dining in. You are burning some of that extra fat, and that is a beautiful way to lose weight. Not on purpose to go into a workout -4, but if we are eating lightly to the hunger scale, -2 to +2, for most of us that is enough to create weight loss if we're eating lean fuel. Now, intermittent fasting. I do not teach it. If my clients are already doing it and they've done their research and this is something they want to do, then I help them with all the thought work that can go around not eating all day and the other things that happen. The most that I have recommended with clients is to, and this is part of intermittent fasting concept, or keto, whatever you want to call it. And I would highly recommend you really read up on it, because some of us have sensitive kidneys. Some of us, you really want to know what you're doing in this if you're doing it for a long time. But this is where I have had clients that they've done all the work and their body is not dropping weight, even if they have one light sugary treat during the day. And and it creates cravings. If you're finding that you are someone that has triggered cravings, you have a hard time being sated during the day, or you even notice that you eat one bite of a cookie in the afternoon and you don't feel good and then crave things all night, you might need to go on a no sugar, no flour diet. And I've been playing around with this, and it doesn't surprise anyone that when we stop eating highly processed food, which flour and sugar are, they're highly refined foods, that it is very difficult. It is we don't feel good. I mean, if we're paying attention, and that's why we start here where we're like noting our hunger signals, but as we get more intuitive and really dig into this, we literally will start noticing how we feel after we eat sugar or flour. Now, there's a reason, and I didn't intend on going into this today, but I think this is really, really important. When we eat foods that are highly processed, and I don't mean like I eat prepared foods that are whole foods, that are like sausages or even fresh vegetables that are prepared, in a way that I like then microwave. So there are a lot of healthy things being created out there by different companies that we can get the cooking drama out of our lives. But I'm talking about processed food that naturally doesn't exist in the form we're eating it. So flour is ground down. It's not like brown rice. It's not grainy. It's not, it is refined. And sugar's the same thing. Our body loves the reaction to it. It loves it. This is a dopamine response. And our body loves pleasure. And so our brain is what gets in the way here. When we are eating that way quite often, or always have a pumpkin latte at 3 p.m. every afternoon, what you will find is it really will be your brain asking for you to do that over and over and over again. And that's why it can get so powerful to drop sugar and flour, because and then do our work of wanting those things in the afternoon, because our brain wants you to get that pleasure. But what's really fascinating, it's not the body's pleasure. It's not the pleasure of that food in your body. It's that the brain creates this whole construct that, wait, you're going to feel, that's going to be amazing. You go have the latte, and it's only relieved that we take action. It's not relieved because we had all that sugar in our body. It's only relieved because we set up this entire construct of desire around this certain food or certain time of eating, and our brain wants us to go get it. It's like an addiction thing. Can you hear it in there? And this is because of the dopamine response around pleasure, pleasurable experiences, pleasurable foods, and processed food gives us enough of a physical kick that our brain will go, oh, good, let's get more of that. So this is where our body is not our ally, and we need to honor it by turning off those sugar responses and sugar habits. And the best way to do it is to drop sugar and flour for a period of time. It takes about 2 weeks to drop a true addiction to sugar. And if you want any more work on this, this is a private call. I will absolutely walk you through dropping sugar in flour in your lives. But what happened for this client is so beautiful. We coach through it by phone, by text, because your body will keep asking you to have it. It will be difficult to drop it. I want to make sure I'm not going too long. Yeah, I did not intend on going 35 minutes, but you're all still here, so I'm going to finish. Your body will fight. Your brain will fight and want that sugar. But when you deny it and do your thought work around it, get calm in those moments, that's just my brain wanting something that isn't good for me. And you will find that the brain will stop asking you to have it. And this woman began, after working really hard for months, her body is dropping weight. And the best part, no more cravings. None. She only craves healthy food. So if this is something that's challenging you, please get on email with me. I can answer some of the questions of how to go about a no sugar, no flour couple of weeks. I do it very lightly, and am playing around with it, and am actually adding whole grains back in, because I found that physically I was never getting sated. Something was missing for me. And I'm just now playing around with what those things are going to be. And I found rice wasn't good. I would overeat it, but maybe the grainy breads I was eating are working. So it takes some testing and going back and forth. Please use the chat box. Do you have any questions? In today's video and email, you will have access to this video if this was helpful to you. Start practicing. This is going to be my challenge. Start with, am I hungry? Am I full? Slow down at meals. That alone can help you get back to your natural appetite. When we eat slow, our body can accommodate all those nutrients, and really it is, first we'll notice when we're full, and our body will actually able to be using that food as fuel. If we eat too fast, that food, even healthy food, can go to fat. So the power of slow is really important. Eating between the twos, as you want to dig into the hunger scale and notice when you're lightly hungry. Honor it. Eat when you're hungry as soon as you can, as soon as you get access to healthy food. If you find you're -3 or -4, it's going to be hard to slow down. So again, use some breathing, slow down, and then eat until you're sated. When you know you can push yourself away from the table, you've got it. That's your tool for the week. Does anybody have any questions? I'm going to have a worksheet in the email. I'm going to make sure this video is available, and I am available on email all the time. All the time. Anybody have any more questions? This is just the beginning, everyone. Next time, our next class, if you can make the class, and if you can't make the class, I'm going to make a recommendation. If you notice that on the calendar, the class doesn't work for you, make sure that you put a time on the calendar to do the class. So I don't intend on all of our classes to go 40 minutes. I really want it to be more 20 to 30. But you all were here. I wanted to serve you well and make sure that you got the full teaching. But the next class is Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern time. I will be on live again on the same link. Save the link. I will have reminders in your follow-up email. I do not want your mailbox to be overloaded. You know where I am, though. So email me if you need me. And also, I will be posting on my Facebook. I might even be doing some live videos there. But on my Diana Murphy Coaching business page, you can also post questions there. I'll give you a conversation starter so that you can ask the questions there. That's also a great place to go. Next time, we are going to talk about fuel, choosing the best foods for you. And yes, your body does know. We can start with great nutritional advice, but now I'm going to teach you how to fine tune it. All right. Thank you. Kathy, you're a rock star. You know you have a good friend when she gets up at 8, like for a class at 8 a.m. And I bet you watched the entire football game last night, did you? Yeah. And I'm sad. Of course, I was cheering for the underdog because New England broke my heart 2 years ago, and I hate them for it. Okay, everybody. Enough on the football. Yeah, you see what's in the background, Kathy Linta. I love you guys, and thanks so much for being here. Please let me know if you have any questions. And do come on with a camera if you can, because that's when you can pop in and get your questions answered. All right, everybody, have a great day.